Well, I was going to introduce my new friend, Dr. Per Bartelt, and she's a senior fellow with the AAC&U, the Association of American Colleges and Universities, and she's also been a provost, taught for a long time, so we're really excited to glean from her wisdom and get to know her personally while she's here. So she's going to start us off today, and then Julius and I are going to talk about roadmap and what's been happening on our campus.
Acceptance into the roadmap project was very, very competitive. It's a national competition where schools apply to be selected, and what we wanted was schools that would mentor each other. And having read all the files, I will tell you, they came in droves, were excellent, and the selection process was very rigorous. There were many of us, both senior fellows and staff people at AAC&U, who read and evaluated the project. So you can feel quite proud that Chattanooga's a part of this, because it was not an easy process. It wasn't, oh, we're interested, you know, sure, join the club. The club was a rather rarefied club, and I wanted you to know that before I spoke about the project at all, to let you know the kinds of competition it was to become a part of this. So that really the roadmap project is based upon the LEAP practices of the AAC&U, and it's really liberal education and America's promise. You see the first groups of schools that were a part of it. This is the group that you are involved in, but it was important for me that you knew how competitive it was to be part of this collection of institutions really across the nation. And it also had to be vetted. It's funded by MetLife, and they have contributed the funding for it, and indeed have been a part in overseeing, not in deciding things, and agreeing to fund with what we've done, so that it really is quite you can kind of walk around a little a little extra proud today. But it was part of the liberal education and America's promise, which are the principles of excellence and bringing liberal education, to all of higher education. Part of what I am always amused about is when Research One organizations, institutions say, oh my, we are discovering teaching. Well, community colleges have discovered this for years and years and years. So that in many ways it is a celebration of that which we know that you work to do, of aiming high, making excellence inclusive, giving students a compass so they know where they're going on a plan, teaching a kind of art of inquiry, engaging at institutions, the big questions, and you can get this on AAC&U's website, and fostering civic and intercultural and ethical learning, and really assessing students' ability to look at complex problems. And I guess for me, part of the best practices and part of what we are encouraging, well, I'll show you the goal of this was the project goal. Expected learning outcomes that engage students at entrance and teach them how to become active partners in their own quest for educational success. Notice, we are not saying we will do it for you, but we are bringing the students into the conversation so that they are the integral part. And I guess what I have often spoken about and look at are the best practices and the kinds of things we are encouraging institutions to do. And the wonderful part about being part of this network is you have those other institutions to use as resources and to be resources for them, so that you're not reinventing things continuously. And it's the whole notion of intentionality, of doing things on purpose, of not just letting them slide. And I'll give you an example of one of the best things I've ever seen. Miami-Dade, if you know, huge, huge institution. When I visited their institution, every time they do any student or faculty event, they have the program goals for it on a big poster in the front of the room and as you walk in, so that it seemed like such a huge thing, and they said, doesn't take that much to do. And it just blew my mind in terms of that notion of being intentional about what you're doing and everybody knowing that what you're doing. It also involves change and enhancing success. Success is really progressive. It is so easy to say, oh, we were successful. We'll just keep doing it the same way we've been doing it now. Isn't that lovely? But that's not really how success and change goes. Our students change, our institutions change, and we have to move along with that. And always you get people who say, but we've always done it this way. And that's just not good enough anymore. And you also get the whole notions of silos, of, well, we do it. You don't do this. We do this. And you know, silos are a thing of the past. We know it doesn't work. And part of what I love that in meeting with the people last night and reading the materials they've done, that they really are integrating through many, many parts of the university and working together to really strengthen that which they do. So that, will you have failures? Absolutely. I will tell you that having started in one of the best practices is first-year seminars and experiences. I was a faculty member at Rowan University for many years and then Dean of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and we put a freshman experience in. The first time we did it, and I taught it, I apologized to my students at the end of the semester. They thought it was interesting, and I thought they did not get enough out of it. And so we changed it. We changed it where it was tied into the academic courses, which meant then the people who were staff people at the university hated us for a year. They really did. And then they realized they were invited in to do presentations, and it worked. And the students were getting credit. We added 1 credit on, and we showed with a pilot, and pilots are important. You don't just put things in whole hog because then you never know whether they're working. And now every student at that university to this day, and this was many years ago, takes a first-year experience course. Queensborough has done interesting things in terms of their first-year seminars. They've formed academies, so they brought the advising in to particular areas. They have an academy for the sciences, for students interested in humanities, so that the advisors really know their programs and stuff, and a more intimate involvement of engaging the students. And the whole goal of the project is really doing what is best for the students. And it's very hard because it means for all of us, we have to leave our egos at the door. And sometimes they have very big egos and they want to just run in the doors. To give you some other examples, Lane Community College has done mandatory orientation, advising, mandatory advising, early learning systems. Manchester and Middlesex and Salt Lake have had tremendous success with ePortfolio, so that being a part of this project allows you to have these other resources of institutions. And we will, if there are groups from another institution that you want to bring to the campus here, we will support you on that. And that translates to the dollars to bring them. Is that a magic word, or is that a magic word?
We like you all the more now.
As you can tell. I have been an administrator. I understand these things. But it is a very exciting time. And I have to tell you that we at AAC&U are very excited about the steps that that your team has taken in terms of orientation. But I'll also tell you, though it is wonderful having that change, that it's going to keep going, that you can't just sit down and go, oh, we did it, how nice.
Very excited to have you here today and what you're talking about, all the high impact practices that we learn about when we go to the AAC&U conferences and we hear about how ePortfolios, service learning, freshman seminars, how they impact all students, the equity of those things, that they can reach the highest student and the most at-risk student simultaneously, and how we can integrate those into our college. So just to remind everybody, it's been almost a year. We've accomplished a lot in a year, and of course we're very pleased to be a part. That was a great day. When we got that announcement, Eva and I think we danced actually, so we were thrilled. And I did sing, and I may sing today because I'm being filmed. It seems very odd to speak in front of a camera. But anyway, this is the original roadmap team. We wanted to put together a cross-divisional team that represented some of our silos that we felt was impacting the orientation and the things that AAC&U was talking about. And we did a good job building this team because we met weekly. This team was very committed to each other and to this project. And we met weekly for most of the year, bi-weekly some of it, but through the summer even, and to develop a roadmap plan. I'm not going to go to each picture, but we attended 2 national conferences. We stayed in dorms for a week, and that was fun. Fun. Sheila was particularly fun. She's a hoot. And we got to know each other, and love you to death. And we got to know each other and work together. We were put in basically a cohort of like community colleges that were also working on similar projects, learning from each other, presenting to each other, thinking out loud, accepting their criticism. Have you thought about this? We tried that. That type of interaction has been really important for us. And one of the things I think especially Michelle came away with was we need a student success definition. What we found out that what my definition of student success was as a professor was very different from what student success definition was across the campus in different pockets. And so we created a definition that is long, but we are committed to. It's for us, it's not for students. We obviously have a shortened version, but I've included the longer version here. We wanted to affirm the different parts of our campus that interact with students, and the student interaction, the idea that the student is a part of this process. They have to be brought into it. They have to be interested in their own success and motivated and how they play that role. And so we can talk about those things. We developed a roadmap plan, and our plan is to develop a first-year experience strategically, one that fits us based on other things we're learning and hearing, and the lessons learned at other campuses, our own lessons that we've learned on our campus, what's worked and what hasn't worked, and to be creative, to think outside the box and to challenge ourselves to do something great. And these are the pillars that we believe need to be in place on our campus, and that is new student orientation, a freshman seminar, some sort of cohort building course that we can develop e-portfolios, get them thinking of their goals, working with degree works to build that plan so that they start off here with a clear idea of what they want to do, and we empower them to own that education, okay, from the outset. Intrusive advising is part of that, I think, and early intervention system, which I think the roadmap is going to try to tackle next. That's our next goal that we've set for ourselves. And we want to start building in celebrations at key points, at milestones, where students achieve things. We've often found students have a hard time seeing the end. Even 2 years is a long, long way away. And to celebrate the points where they make smaller achievements, and to really, no matter when they are, if they're not on our time schedule, but maybe it was a great effort on their part, that we empower them to celebrate what they achieve. And I think we can do a better job of that, and that'll be fun. That's the fun work, I think. So of course, this past summer we did redesign orientation as a team, and it was a huge effort. I'm up here speaking, but it was a huge effort between our silos, and it was a campus-wide effort. I think most of us are familiar with how it went, but just in case you're not, or to refresh you, that we had 4 sessions. Every student logged on to ePortfolio, received their first portfolio, their roadmap portfolio with a specialized template we had developed for new students. We had 3 sessions about success inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and financially, so that we took the time to lead students in small groups. They selected their divisions of interest, so hopefully we believe that they met who are likely to be their fellow peers, that they're likely to start their first day of courses with, so that they don't begin their first day alone and intimidated, but empowered and recognizing a few faces. Important, we're just now running those numbers, how successful those were. We have some really positive things we think we're going to be able to report. We're waiting for final grades to come in before we jump up and down, so we're kind of holding our breath, but midterm grades looked great and looked good, and I think we've made an impact. And so we are tracking these students to see if that mattered and what we can do better. You know, really look at it and study what we do and be intentional with what we do in this important process. And I think I'm going to let Julius talk about our next efforts here that we're going to tackle, our second pillar with early intervention.
When a faculty member actually goes in self-service banner, there's a button that says faculty feedback. So when they click that button, it takes them then to this screen. And basically what it does is that it allows a faculty member in one space to see their complete class roster. Under that roster, the faculty could actually click a button, and then this screen comes up that's specific to that student. And we've built issues, and so these are just some of the preliminary issues that we've built in it, saying that this particular student has an average below a C, or is habitually tardy, or has low test scores, missing test scores. For the presentation, we actually checked this student has low test scores. So once that is checked, then there's a recommendation that goes along with that specific issue. And the recommendation is that that student now visit the tutoring center. Well, the backside of that says once these things are clicked, then an email actually goes out to the student, and that email looks like this would be the output. So specifically, the email says it's referring to your math class specifically. Your instructor, Brian Green, has indicated that you're having some issues and makes a recommendation that you see someone. It also allows for you to put other contacts, telephone numbers, offices, and then even if you're unable to communicate with this person, then do this. And so for every issue that goes out, that student now receives this email. So we had about 12 issues and about 12 recommendations. So whatever the match is, that specific email goes out to that specific student. One of the things that we will work on is what happens when that student, for example, this letter says for that student to go to the math lab. When that student arrives at the math lab, then we need to get information back that that student has registered or been in the math lab, so now we can communicate back to that faculty to say, hey, Lucretia, what was her name? Alice has now committed and done exactly what you've asked her to do. So basically what it's done is taking all of that work or that follow-up away from that individual faculty, referring them somewhere, and then reporting back to that faculty that is actually happening.
Much better way to do it, because it won't happen the other way.
Right.
We know that. We proved it.
Right. So we've been in communication with Walter State. They actually have all of their students in this process. Now we have the ability to only monitor a specific group of students, or we can do the whole student population. That's basically up to us how we want to do this.
And when you send that email, Julius, does a copy of that go to the math center?
Yes, it does. For every communication that's sent out, that specific person or that specific area gets a notification to expect this student.
And if they don't show up, what happens?
Then the follow-up is that they haven't attended or have not participated, so we communicate back. Our office is really going to be the hub of this, and then we'll distribute that information back out.
We can actually devise what these say. We are actually in control of constructing these issues and recommendations, so they can say things like stopped attending, right? Okay, so we can do some of that. We believe we have some volunteers to pilot this, try this out that have committed to that. Dawn and I are one of them, and I don't think we'll have a problem getting that done.
I'll do it.
I know, excellent. And I think what we need to do is show the loop, not just pilot the faculty reporting in, but pilot what happens when a faculty does that work, that a faculty member can see that something happened. Yes, if we don't get that piece of it, that's what we've never had, and it's not from a lack of effort. It just hasn't been done as well as possible. And so,
It's left a lot of faculty with the belief that nothing was done.
well, and that's my own personal feeling about what happened, and it was very time consuming, and it felt purposeless to me personally, and I tried, I mean, I believe in helping the students, so it wasn't a lack of passion on my part, but I also think that if faculty see things happening and that wheels are set in motion and the support issues take over. If Dawn and I share the same student, we teach very different courses, but we often share students. If I flag a student, she flags a student, a third person flags a student, we don't know that about each other yet. If we could give that information to one central location where they receive one phone call and deal with all those issues together, instead of all of us piecemealing, it makes a lot of sense. And if we do that, I believe the adjuncts will come on board, because the adjuncts are as concerned about the quality of student learning and all of the failure. They're disheartened as well. So if that started happening, I don't believe the adjunct would be an issue. I think they would be supportive of it if they felt like they could do this and help was on the way. So that's what we're working on. We need your support to do that. It's a big project.